in what will be an action-packed night of wrestling. We went through NXT already, and now we shift over to AEW Double or Nothing with the buy-in starting on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It is the Hardy Boys and Hook teaming up against Ethan Page and the Guns in a 6-person tag team match, which will likely be the end of the rivalry between Ethan Page and Matt Hardy, and can bring us into the next direction, or the next stage of the Hardy Boys' return as a tag team. But this is to say that tonight's pay-per-view is an action-packed night of wrestling is, well, I mean, actually it's an understatement because there's a lot of matches tonight. But, I mean, maybe not as much as we used to have with AEW pay-per-views. But still, there's a lot to get to tonight on AEW's programming, including the Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW International Heavyweight Championship. Orange Cassidy defends against Ricky Starks, Jay White, Juice Robinson, Dustin Rhodes, Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, Brian Cage, Ray Phoenix, Penta, Kip Sabian, Trent Beretta, Chucky T, The Butcher, The Blade, Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, Commander, and Bandito. And I believe what is a 21-man battle royal for the AEW World or International Championship. If there was ever a time for Orange Cassidy to drop the belt, and maybe by the end of it I will stop calling it the NXT title, but if there was ever a time for Orange Cassidy to drop the International Championship, it will be tonight in the Blackjack Battle Royal, because the one thing that AEW needs to keep in mind is if they have Orange Cassidy win, you're killing off a ton of challengers, and he can't keep the belt forever. You can't have him stay champion forever. You have to give somebody else the opportunity to be the champion, and there are a number of people in that match that have the potential to be capable international champions. Especially if you want to go the route of having especially if you want to go the route of having international title defenses, Commander, Bandito, or the Lucha Brothers would be perfect for that picture. Actually, I think only Commander would technically be perfect for that picture, unless you want to go the route of Juice. Unless you want to go the route of Juice Robinson, because I think Commander and Juice Robinson are the only two people competing for international companies at this point, with Juice in New Japan and Commander in AAA. Other than that, I don't think anybody's competing elsewhere. But I think that overall, from the standpoint of the fans, I think people seeing Jay White win the International Championship would give people who have wanted to see Jay White do more since he came to AEW the opportunity to see him do more and fulfill that desire to see the guy who was the most talked about man in wrestling leading into WrestleMania finally live up to some potential and become a champion in AEW, even though he just got there. Or, honestly, I would love to see Swerve Strickland or Brian Cage win the title. Because both men deserve the opportunity to have a little bit of the spotlight. And I also think that giving Brian Cage or Swerve the opportunity to be the international champion would add a little bit to Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland, which they insist on still doing, even though that rivalry has lost some steam over the last couple of months, in my opinion. An open house match for the AEW World Trios Championship as the House of Black defends the World Trios title against opponents to be determined as they issue the open challenge. And now the only question is who's going to accept the title, who's going to accept the shot at Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews for the AEW World Trios Championships. The TBS Championship is on the line as Jade Cargill defends against Taya Valkyrie. I think that if Valkyrie does not win tonight, that is her last opportunity, or what should be her last opportunity at the AEW World, at the TBS Championship. I still believe that if anybody's going to defeat Jade Cargill, it will be Chris Statlander. And that, if anything, Stat will win the title when she comes back. Because I think AEW doesn't have a... I do think Taya Valkyrie gives a potentially valuable replacement for Chris Statlander as far as somebody to dethrone Jade Cargill. But the question is where to go from there. It's not, oh, well, she's viable, she can do it. No, it's where do you go from there? It's where do you go from there if Taya Valkyrie wins? Where do you go from there if Statlander wins? It doesn't matter who defeats Jade Cargill. It matters where you go after Jade loses the belt. That's what matters. Speaking of losing the belt or winning the belt, TNT title is on the line in a ladder match. Wardlow versus Christian Cage. And honestly, if Wardlow loses the title again, then they should just give up on his potential and understand that if they want to give him a push in the right direction and give him a chance to fulfill his potential, then they will need to have him start from square one again and reestablish him from square one because of the amount of times of start and stopping and not really knowing what to do next. Sound familiar? Christian Cage is a capable opponent for Wardlow, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think Wardlow drops the belt tonight unless Christian Cage gets help from Luchasaurus. But again, it will be the same. You can't recycle the feud that they just did with Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow for the TNT Championship. Wardlow has the belt, and it's his third title defense. So if he drops the belt again, get him out of the title picture and start him from square one again. I would love to see Christian as a champion again. I would love to see Christian hold the belt. He deserves it. He earned it. He is a top heel in AEW and is somebody capable of being a champion. But now is not the time. That's all I gotta say. The unsanctioned match with Sabu as the special guest enforcer, Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole. And the fact of the matter is, if tonight isn't when we see Kyle O'Reilly come back, I think it is potentially when we could see Kyle come back as far as setting up for Blood and Guts in the not too distant future. But if anybody wins this match other than Adam Cole, it would be a mistake. Adam Cole deserves it, Adam Cole earned it, and Adam Cole should get it. I know Jericho is somebody that has been spending a lot of time in 2023 putting other people over, but the fact of the matter is, Adam Cole should get this match and should win this match because it's just how things have gone. And also, if anything, Jericho can win the feud. Just let Adam win the first unsanctioned match, because I also think Adam Cole should not get a shot at MJF if he's not going to be the one to dethrone MJF. The one thing I want to point out, though, is that the unsanctioned match needs to be distantly far apart from the Anarchy in the Arena, because both those matches are going to be similar, and they need to be split, one in one spot, one in another spot, and not one right after the other, or with a one match gap. Maybe the Anarchy in the Arena or the unsanctioned match should open the show, and the other match should be in the middle. One way or the other, there should be a split between those matches because they're going to be way too similar to be too close together. The World Tag Team titles are on the line as FTR defends against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. And honestly, if there was ever a potential to see new World Tag Team champions, it would be tonight, and it would be Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. But, the fact of the matter is, I feel like FTR just won the titles. FTR just won the titles, and winning them in the way that they did, it would be too much for them to lose it right now so soon. Even though Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal would be perfect tag team champions, and it would lean into the fact that they're heels, it would lean into everything. I also don't believe, I think there is potential to say that I don't believe that this feud will end with one match. Again, I could be wrong, but I don't think that this feud will end with one match. But either way, I think FTR keeps the belts tonight. It is good to see that Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm are still having their match, and Jamie Hayter is still defending the AEW World Women's Championship, because it would be unfortunate to see her have to vacate it, or us return to the interim style like we did last year. But Jamie Hayter has been a capable champion, and this is her first. As far as I know, it's the first time Hayter and Toni Storm have met since when Hayter won the belt from Toni Storm last year. So this should be a nice way to harken back to when Hayter defeated Storm for the AEW World Women's Championship. I don't see Hayter losing the belt tonight unless there is some funny business. But either way, I think Jamie Hayter keeps the belt tonight. BCC against the Elite in Anarchy in the Arena. And again, I will say the only thing I want to add to this match is that this needs to be separated completely from the unsanctioned match and distanced from the unsanctioned match, because it's going to be way too similar to the unsanctioned match with Jericho and Cole. And I think for the Elite to get a measure of revenge, the Elite have to win Anarchy in the Arena. They don't have to get the last laugh tonight. Don't get it twisted. But for them to get a little bit of revenge against the BCC, they need to win tonight. Will they? I'm going back and forth, but I think for them to get a little bit of revenge, they need to get the win in Anarchy in the Arena. And now the four pillars and the four-way for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship: MJF, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Jack Perry. It is the first time Guevara, Allin, and Perry get an AEW World title shot. It is the first time that the four pillars of AEW are together in the ring in the main event of a pay-per-view, and MJF will keep the AEW World title tonight, defeating his fellow four pillars, proving why he is the best of the four. Circling back, MJF gets the victory. The Elite: Jamie Hayter, FTR, Adam Cole, Wardlow, Jade Cargill, House of Black, and Jay White, Brian Cage, or Swerve Strickland will win the Blackjack Battle Royal, and the Hardys will get the victory over the Guns and Ethan Page. Either way, if you're looking for action tonight, you have NXT Battleground on Peacock, Peacock or the WWE Network if you're outside of the US, and also Double or Nothing live on pay-per-view and live streaming on Bleacher Report or Fight.tv outside of the United States, and DAZN, DAZN, outside of the United States. It will be, again, available. You can order the event on Bleacher Report or pay-per-view live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. NXT Battleground also at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, but Double or Nothing if you want something a little bit different than NXT. Either way, it is an action-packed night of wrestling tonight, Memorial Day weekend. It is AEW Double or Nothing and NXT Battleground. I mean, there's nothing better than wrestling on any night of the week. Buy in at 7 p.m. and the pay-per-view starts at 8. That is Double or Nothing tonight live on pay-per-view. That is it for me. Happy Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you in the next one.